Hi everyone, Byron Martin here at Logis. And for those of us that are container gardeners, we're always looking for plants that are relatively easy to grow, have unique form, and are enduring. And our elephant tree here, Operculicarya decaryi, fits that description beautifully. And this tree is actually a native of Madagascar, which can take tremendous amounts of dryness. And so it creates, for those of us that are container gardeners, a really excellent subject for dry spots. So as you can see, the trunk as it matures creates this very rough, bumpy texture to it. Really quite beautiful, and that is where it gets its name, elephant tree. So it looks like the skin of an elephant. And the branches are lateral as this plant grows up. And for container gardeners, you can determine the height by where you prune the top of it. So this one, we've stopped it growing right up at the top here, and it will never grow any taller than that. That plant will remain at that size with these side or lateral branches branching off of it. This plant here is about 25 years old. This one here is close to 20. And one of the things we do is we give them an annual pruning. So if you wanted to show the bark better on this one, you'd prune off all these lower branches, and then the trunk will actually develop smooth without the interference of them. We kind of leave them be as they are, a little more natural and in some ways a little more interesting. In cultivating them, one usually starts off with a small plant. These are the ones that we grow and sell. These are seedlings, and you can see this one's actually started to create that upward growth to it. Could use a staking because you want that trunk to be straight, I'm assuming, although you could make it twisty if you wanted it to. And then in those younger years, you want to cultivate that trunk however you want to see it, because it's going to form into something that's very mature and will be unable to move. They do grow quicker if you give them more water in the summertime. They are here in the Northeast dormant during the winter, even to the point where they'll defoliate some. And then it's a simple matter of pruning, and the pruning is usually done in the springtime, just as they start growth. You do a pruning on them. Light prunings can be done throughout the summertime to contain them. These branches that we see here will keep arching out as the plant grows, so we contain them with an annual pruning and then intermittent pruning throughout the summertime. As I mentioned, they're dryland plants. Obviously they can take it dry, and I also mentioned that they do like water in the summertime along with fertilizer, which is going to increase the growth. One thing we don't do with our specimens is overpot them. We leave them in very tight pots, so there's that quick dry down, wet, quick dry down. That keeps the root systems healthy, but it also gives the plant somewhat of a restricted growth habit, which makes that gnarly hard wood that you see here. Now you can see this is very soft looking, this young plant, and that's because it's being grown under higher moisture and fertilizer. And that's great when you're on your way to get there, but once you get the specimen, you want to slow that down with less fertilizer and a little bit harsher conditions. As far as problems in growing this, there really aren't any insects that we deal with that attack this plant. And that is actually a great thing for any of us that are growers. I mentioned that we do fertilize it in the summertime. We don't feed them as frequently as we do many of our tropical plants, but they do get an ample amount of feed. In its indestructibility, and I have watched this plant sit on a shelf in front of the potting bench where somebody had set it up there and left it there for 3 years and hardly watered it, and it hardly grew, but it was fine during that time. That's how much stress it can take. You can actually train these into bonsais where they will form that gnarly, twisty form to it. As a bonsai, they actually can make quite a beautiful one with some training, where those stems can actually be twisted and trained and then trimmed back and then the root exposed. And of course, bonsais take time to do that, but they do make great bonsais for those that love that culture. Our Operculicarya is a great houseplant for those that want something unusual and distinctive, but also want something that's enduring. If you'd like more information about this tree and other plants, visit us at logis.com.